on the first 100 days of Pope Leo the Fourteenth's papacy. As we've heard, much has been said about the deliberate and meticulous way the Holy Father is approaching the vast responsibilities he faces.
When Pope Leo the Fourteenth refused to shake Catherine's children's hands during a historic Vatican meeting, the room fell into stunned silence. But that shocking gesture was only the beginning. What he did next defied every expectation, shattered centuries of protocol, and left even seasoned royal aides questioning what they had just witnessed. Cameras captured every tense second. The world held its breath, and whispers of disbelief spread like wildfire. What could he possibly do that would shock millions? This is the story behind that unforgettable moment. A royal visit turned cold. When Princess Catherine entered the Vatican alongside her children, the world held its collective breath. This was supposed to be a moment of celebration, a shining image of grace, tradition, and unity, a rare intersection of royalty and the spiritual heart of Catholicism. Cameras clicked relentlessly, capturing every subtle gesture, every smile, every bowed head. The expectation was clear: warmth, kindness, and a gentle acknowledgement of the young royals who, in their innocence, represented the future of a storied monarchy. But what the lenses caught instead was far from what anyone anticipated. As Catherine extended her hand to offer her children's tiny, curious hands to Pope Leo the Fourteenth, there was an almost imperceptible pause, a flicker of hesitation. Then, with quiet precision, the Pope refrained from taking them. He did not grasp the outstretched hands. He did not offer the customary touch or blessing in that moment. It was subtle, almost diplomatic in its restraint, yet to those watching closely, the act was loaded with meaning. The grand hall, adorned with gilded ceilings and intricate frescoes depicting centuries of spiritual history, suddenly seemed oppressive. The usual soft rustle of robes and polite murmurs of greeting were drowned out by a silence so heavy it seemed to press down on everyone present. Reporters and onlookers struggled to read the scene. Was this merely a lapse in protocol, an awkward moment of timing, or something far more intentional? Catherine held herself with poise, calm on the surface yet taut with tension beneath. Every eye tracked her, noting the grace she wore like armor, even as a flicker of surprise and unease crossed her mind. Her children sensed the shift, their wide eyes quietly questioning, small hands hovering for reassurance. But the Pope remained distant, measured, almost untouchable, leaving the delicate, unspoken drama hanging in the room. Courtiers and aides exchanged uneasy glances. Was it a minor protocol slip or a deliberate act of distance hinting at hidden political and religious tensions? For the public, long accustomed to royal and papal rituals, the moment was striking. The gesture, small yet icy, carried a weight that went beyond etiquette, an unspoken message, subtle but unmistakable, leaving everyone to wonder what lay beneath the polished surface. Photographs would later circulate across newspapers and social media, sparking debates, rumors, and speculation. Analysts dissected every angle: the positioning of hands, the tilt of heads, the fleeting expressions of Catherine and her children. Was the Pope signaling disapproval? Was it a gentle rebuke? Or perhaps a reflection of deeper, unseen tensions between traditions, institutions, or even personalities? In that brief, silent pause, the world was reminded that gestures, especially those small and subtle, can carry immense power. A simple refusal to take a child's hand became, in that moment, a profound symbol, one that suggested mystery, tension, and the fragile interplay of diplomacy, respect, and human emotion. The scene left more questions than answers, and for Catherine, it was a reminder that even the most carefully prepared encounters can conceal complexities hidden just beneath the surface. And so, what was meant to be a radiant tableau of unity and grace instead became an unforgettable moment of quiet tension, a single gesture that spoke volumes without a word, leaving everyone to wonder, was this an innocent slip or a message carefully veiled in silence? The Pope's refusal sent shockwaves across the world, leaving everyone questioning tradition, intent, and the very essence of authority. But what did it truly signify? Could there be a hidden message behind that deliberate gesture? Let's uncover the story. Whispers in the corridors. Beneath the carefully curated image of cordial diplomacy, whispers of tension between the British monarchy and the Vatican have long circulated among insiders. On the surface, royal visits, state banquets, and ceremonial handshakes paint a picture of unity and mutual respect. Yet, behind the scenes, sources suggest a far more complicated story. A quiet, simmering discord that has quietly shaped interactions between the two powerful institutions for years. The reasons for this tension, according to those familiar with both circles, are rooted in tradition, influence, and an unspoken struggle over authority and prestige. Some experts argue that the Vatican, a centuries-old institution with its own deeply entrenched protocols and power dynamics, has grown wary of what it sees as the evolving assertiveness of the British monarchy. Meanwhile, the royal family, ever conscious of its global image and historical legacy, may chafe at perceived constraints or critiques coming from the spiritual epicenter of Catholicism. For decades, this delicate balance has been maintained with quiet tact, carefully orchestrated meetings, and symbolic gestures designed to preserve appearances. But the calm surface has not always reflected the undercurrents of disagreement. In recent months, insiders claim that these tensions have begun to manifest in subtle, almost imperceptible ways. Certain decisions made by Vatican officials, who control every detail of ceremonial protocol and who have a long memory of historical slights, have been interpreted as pointed, even provocative. It is in this context that the recent snub of Catherine's children has sent shockwaves through royal watchers and Vatican observers alike. Why, they ask, would the Pope appear to withhold recognition from the young heirs, the very symbols of the monarchy's future? Some speculate that this is more than a mere oversight. It could be a carefully calculated message, delivered silently but unmistakably, to the House of Windsor. The fact that Catherine's children, rather than her or senior royals, were singled out points to a calculated strategy. By targeting the next generation, the gesture strikes at the monarchy's heart, its future, stability, and legacy. In the realm of high diplomacy, subtle moves often carry more weight than open confrontation. A slight, an overlooked handshake, or an unacknowledged presence can resonate far louder than words. Here, the children, innocent and unaware, become symbols in a timeless game of influence and power. Royal experts are now dissecting the meaning behind this curious gesture. Is it a subtle shift in Vatican monarchy relations, or just a media-fueled overreaction? History shows the Vatican wields ceremony and symbolism like a careful chess player. Every glance, handshake, or omission speaks volumes. When such gestures target the heirs of one of the world's most observed royal families, the message becomes undeniable, charged with tension, intrigue, and unspoken intent. As speculation mounts, one question looms larger than the rest. Is this a fleeting diplomatic hiccup or a calculated move that signals a broader struggle for influence between two ancient institutions? The subtle intricacies of power, tradition, and legacy collide here in a quiet, tension-filled theater, where appearances are everything and every slight carries meaning. For now, the world watches, waiting to decode the signals, interpret the gestures, and understand the hidden story behind a seemingly polite but unmistakably loaded interaction. This unprecedented snub could reveal a calculated challenge from the Pope to centuries of royal tradition. But how did Catherine respond in the face of such subtle defiance? Now let's delve into the princess's silent fury and her relentless protection of her children. Catherine's composure. The princess's response was quietly extraordinary, revealing a poise only a seasoned royal could command under provocation. There were no sharp words, sudden gestures, or flashes of anger. Instead, a barely perceptible tightening of her smile and a subtle shift in her expression communicated more than any outburst ever could. An unspoken message understood by those attuned to royal subtleties. With deliberate precision, she led her children away, their small hands firmly in hers, each movement carefully measured to project calm while concealing the storm within. Her restraint transformed a fleeting moment into a powerful testament to composed authority. Beneath her flawless composure, a hidden storm of emotion churned relentlessly. Palace insiders whisper of a simmering anger, not weakened but carefully restrained, aware that any public slip could be seized and distorted by the media. Every gesture was measured, every word calculated, as the princess navigated a world where perception outweighed truth. Her mind burned with quiet indignation at the deliberate humiliation she sensed, yet outwardly she remained a picture of elegance and control. Behind the serene mask lay a fierce intelligence and unspoken defiance, a woman fully aware of the power and danger of revealing even the slightest crack. This was more than mere self-control. It was strategic. The princess's foremost concern in that tense moment was not her own pride or public image, but the emotional safety of her children. She had sensed, with the instinctive clarity that comes from experience, that this incident was more than a passing slight. It was, in her eyes, a calculated effort to provoke, to undermine, and perhaps even to unsettle the young minds she held so dearly. In guiding them away, she became both protector and shield, silently absorbing the sting of the insult while ensuring her children remained untouched by it. Every movement, every micro-expression carried the weight of a parent determined to preserve innocence and dignity, even when faced with a deeply personal slight. Observers who have studied her interactions over the years note that moments like these reveal the subtle power of restraint, a strength that is often invisible, yet profoundly influential. Her controlled composure communicated far more than anger ever could, signaling that she would not be manipulated or drawn into conflict, no matter how provocative the circumstances. At the same time, the tight-lipped smile and the careful navigation away from the source of tension served as a silent message. She was fully aware, fully present, and fully capable of defending her family in ways that did not require public confrontation. In essence, this incident offered a rare glimpse into the intricate layers of royal life, how public appearance, private sentiment, and parental responsibility can collide in a single moment. The princess's response was a masterclass in controlled emotion, strategic thinking, and unwavering devotion. It was restraint elevated to art, a delicate dance between visible calm and hidden indignation, all performed with the singular goal of protecting her children from a world that, for all its glitz and ceremony, could be unrelentingly harsh. In that fleeting moment, the depth of her commitment was unmistakable. She would endure humiliation herself if it meant her children remained untouched, safe, within the bubble of her quiet, unshakable authority. Behind her calm, the princess's resolve burned quietly, fiercely protecting her children from deliberate humiliation. Could her measured composure fully contain the storm, or does a deeper challenge lie ahead? Now let's delve into Pope Leo the XIV's audacious confrontation with Catherine and the monarchy. The Pope's shocking next move. The controversy erupted like wildfire, spreading across social media and news outlets with a force that left the world stunned. Every post, every comment, every headline seemed to feed the fire, twisting public perception and fueling the storm. At the center of it all stood Pope Leo the XIV, a figure whose actions had long commanded attention, but whose latest moves were about to spark a confrontation far beyond anything anyone had anticipated. Pope Leo the XIV didn't ease tensions. He amplified them. With a bold public declaration, he stunned even his allies. His words, precise and cutting, weren't aimed at one individual but targeted the monarchy itself. Catherine, long admired for her grace and strength, suddenly faced a direct challenge, her reputation and influence tossed into turbulent waters, sparking intrigue, debate, and a wave of uncertainty around the royal legacy. But the Pope's bold statement went further. It didn't merely question Catherine's decisions or actions. It questioned the delicate balance of power that had long defined the monarchy itself. In a few short sentences, centuries of tradition, authority, and decorum were thrown into question. Faith and politics collided in ways that blurred the lines between moral authority and worldly power. What had once been a private, quiet tension within the palace walls now became an explosive issue on the global stage. The reaction was immediate and intense. Supporters of the Pope praised his courage and clarity, claiming he had spoken uncomfortable truths that the monarchy had long ignored. Critics, meanwhile, saw arrogance and recklessness, a reckless assault on a revered institution that many believed should remain above public squabbles. Social media became a battlefield. Hashtags, opinion pieces, viral videos, all of it worked to amplify the divide, drawing ordinary citizens and powerful elites alike into a conversation that no one could easily escape. For Catherine, the challenge was deeply personal. The Pope's words weren't just political. They struck at her sense of identity, her role within the family, and the very essence of her public image. She faced an unprecedented dilemma: how to respond without giving the impression of weakness, how to defend herself without escalating a conflict that now seemed larger than life. Every gesture, every statement, every public appearance was scrutinized, analyzed, and debated by millions. And yet, amid the chaos, a strange clarity emerged. The clash exposed underlying tensions that had long existed but were rarely acknowledged. Power was no longer a distant concept whispered about in palace corridors. It was raw, visible, and immediate. Faith was no longer solely a matter of private belief. It became intertwined with politics, public perception, and influence in ways that demanded attention. Every decision, every word, every glance now carried weight far beyond what anyone could have imagined. In the end, the conflict wasn't just about Catherine or the Pope. It was about an entire system under pressure, about centuries of tradition confronting the unstoppable force of public scrutiny. Faith, power, and politics had collided in a spectacular storm, and there was no turning back. Both sides had been forced into a game of strategy, perception, and influence, one in which every move mattered, and the stakes were nothing less than the legacy of the monarchy itself. Pope Leo's bold declaration sent shockwaves across the world, reshaping notions of power, faith, and royal protocol. But what sparked this unprecedented moment, or has such tension always simmered between the Pope and the British royals? Let's delve into a quiet moment of connection that captured the world's attention. When crown meets cross. On April 9, 2025, King Charles III and Queen Camilla marked a profound milestone, their 20th wedding anniversary, in a quietly powerful way. Choosing intimacy over spectacle, the couple celebrated with a private audience with Pope Francis at the tranquil Casa Santa Marta in the Vatican. The timing added layers of meaning. The day not only honored 2 decades of shared life and partnership, but also fell on the 4th anniversary of Prince Philip's passing, whose wisdom had profoundly shaped Charles. This poignant encounter intertwined personal reflection with historical resonance, leaving the world curious about the deeper significance behind this private royal Vatican meeting. Originally, the royal pair had planned a formal state visit to the Vatican. The agenda had included attendance at a special service in the Sistine Chapel dedicated to care for creation, a theme that resonates deeply with King Charles's long-standing commitment to environmental stewardship. This initiative had been a symbol of shared values between the British monarchy and the Holy See, reflecting a mutual desire to raise awareness on climate change, sustainability, and the protection of our planet for future generations. The service was meant to blend tradition, faith, and a call to action, an event worthy of the historic nature of the King and Queen's anniversary. However, unforeseen circumstances altered these plans. Pope Francis, still recovering from a serious bout of double pneumonia, was advised by his medical team to postpone official engagements, including the planned state visit. While the news might have disappointed many, the Pope's commitment to personal connection remained steadfast. Demonstrating his characteristic warmth and thoughtfulness, he extended a private invitation for an audience with the royal couple, an invitation that was confirmed on the very morning of April 9th. The private meeting, lasting roughly 20 minutes, offered a more personal and meaningful setting than any public ceremony could provide. Within the quiet elegance of the Casa Santa Marta, King Charles and Queen Camilla exchanged heartfelt words with Pope Francis. The pontiff extended his warmest congratulations on their 20th wedding anniversary, reflecting on the shared journey of commitment, partnership, and service. In return, King Charles expressed his hope for the Pope's full recovery and the continuation of his vital work, a gesture that highlighted the mutual respect and genuine affection that underpinned their relationship. The meeting also featured a thoughtful exchange of gifts, further cementing the bond of friendship and shared values between the British monarchy and the Vatican. Following the audience, Buckingham Palace issued a statement expressing the royal couple's joy at seeing Pope Francis well enough to receive them and their gratitude for the opportunity to convey their best wishes in person. The statement emphasized that the encounter was not merely ceremonial but deeply personal, reflecting a moment of sincere connection amid their public lives. Beyond the personal significance, this private audience underscored the enduring ties between the British monarchy and the Vatican. It was a vivid reminder of the shared principles and mutual respect that have shaped centuries of diplomatic and spiritual dialogue, from interfaith collaboration to efforts addressing global challenges. In choosing to commemorate their anniversary in this quiet, meaningful manner, King Charles and Queen Camilla highlighted the enduring importance of faith, reflection, and connection in both their personal lives and their roles on the world stage. This private encounter underscored the enduring bonds between the British monarchy and the Vatican, intertwining personal milestones with centuries-old diplomacy. But do these bonds still endure, or are hidden tensions quietly simmering? Let's find out. The global fallout. What began as a brief, seemingly simple moment, a handshake refused, quickly erupted into an event that no one could ignore. A short video clip, captured in the hushed grandeur of a Vatican hall, quickly circled the globe. Social media feeds lit up, news channels replayed it endlessly, and the world paused to witness an interaction that seemed, on the surface, ordinary. But the refusal of a handshake was anything but ordinary. In a matter of hours, what might have been a minor diplomatic misstep transformed into an international sensation, sparking debates that crossed continents and ideologies. Diplomats, who typically tread carefully, found themselves navigating a storm. In offices from London to Rome, officials pored over footage, memos, and statements, trying to decipher what exactly had occurred. Was it a simple misunderstanding, a misread gesture, or something far more calculated? The incident, initially small and personal, had suddenly become a symbol, a moment that carried far-reaching political and social weight. Conversations that normally revolved around policy, tradition, and ceremony were now dominated by speculation. Why had the handshake been declined, and what did it signal about the current state of relations? Public opinion, as it often does in the digital age, fractured almost instantly. On one side, commentators argued that the moment was purely ceremonial, a trivial hiccup blown out of proportion by online culture. They insisted that the Vatican and the British royal family shared a long history of collaboration, mutual respect, and shared symbolism. One handshake would not upend centuries of tradition. On the other side, skeptics read between the lines, suggesting that this gesture, brief as it was, could hint at something far more significant. Tensions simmering just below the surface, a subtle power struggle between two of the most enduring institutions in the world. The hashtags and trending topics multiplied, turning the handshake into more than just a story. It became a narrative, a puzzle, a conversation starter in living rooms, offices, and newsrooms worldwide. Experts in diplomacy, history, and royal protocol began weighing in. Some described the gesture as unprecedented in modern memory, noting how rare it is for centuries-old institutions to show even the slightest public friction. Others reminded audiences that symbolism, especially in the corridors of power, often carries meaning that words cannot fully capture. Every glance, every hesitation, every turned hand became fodder for analysis, as if the brief interaction had unlocked a secret language known only to the most astute observers of global affairs. Amid the headlines, the central question loomed larger than the incident itself. Was this handshake refusal merely a fleeting, awkward moment? Or was it a deliberate opening salvo in a subtle, silent confrontation between two of the world's most historic institutions? Could it mark the beginning of a deeper, more complex tension, hidden behind centuries of public civility, protocol, and tradition? Scholars, journalists, and citizens alike found themselves compelled to ask the same urgent question, each interpretation layered with speculation, intrigue, and the tantalizing possibility of a hidden story waiting to unfold. What had seemed simple, a momentary refusal of a gesture, had evolved into a global spectacle, a spark igniting curiosity, concern, and debate. In the end, one thing became clear: the world would never look at a handshake between royalty and the Vatican in quite the same way again. And in that silence, that brief pause of human connection, denied, perhaps lay the first hint of a story that had only just begun. But what do you think about Pope Leo the Fourteenth refusing Catherine's children's handshake? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.